The NFL trade deadline has come and gone, and the only trade the New York Football Giants made was trading Kadarius Toney to the Kansas City Chiefs for that 3rd and 6th round pick. I wanted a wide receiver, but I didn't want to overpay. So I want to ask you guys, did the Giants make the right move? Type Y for yes, or you can go down and type N for no. Welcome into New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green, as always. In today's show, we're going to break down the trade deadline and everything that happened for the New York Football Giants. Joe Schoen also just spoke to the media about the trade deadline. We'll get to that. And he had some pretty interesting words to say about Odell Beckham Jr. We're already starting up the OBJ back to the New York Giants. Joe Schoen, he was really honest about OBJ. We'll talk about that. But let's go first to see what Joe Schoen had to say about the trade deadline in general. He went on to say, we had several conversations with teams on multiple positions, and the price point did not just match up. It just did not work out. But we were active with phone calls trying to improve the roster, which we will continue to do. I think it's pretty obvious, and we knew this going in. Joe Schoen was not going to overpay at the NFL trade deadline. Go back to the interviews he had when he first accepted the job with the New York Football Giants. He told you that he places a premium on premium draft picks. He wasn't going to give up a second-round pick for Chase Claypool like the Chicago Bears did, and I think that kind of hurt the Giants in the long run. A lot of people expected Chase Claypool to be the guy that was moved, not to the Giants, but moved at the trade deadline. Well, I don't think anybody, even myself, thought that Chase Claypool would go for a second-round pick. I thought he had a more value of a 4th and a 6th, and I think that set the wide receiver trade market a little bit too high and a little bit too rich for Joe Schoen. At the end of the day, Brandon Cooks, the Texans wanted a second. That's too much, even though I like Cooks a lot. And also, Jerry Jeudy, according to Albert Breer, the Denver Broncos were looking for a 2nd and a 5th-round pick for Jerry Jeudy. That is too much. So Chase Claypool goes for a 2nd-round pick. And then the only other big-time wide receiver that was traded was Calvin Ridley, a guy that's not even playing right now in the National Football League. He goes for a conditional 5th and a 2nd. Pretty much the way it works out is the best trade package the Jags will get from the Falcons will get from the Jags, is a 2nd and a 5th. The worst it would be is a 6th and the 4th. So no trades made for the Giants, and this is going to be the wide receiver depth chart that they're going to be working with the rest of the way. We also have some news on Kenny Golladay coming up here in a second. Joe Schoen said he expects Golladay to be ready to play when the Giants come back from the bye week and face off against the Houston Texans. Hopefully Golladay comes back and shows some life, and maybe he's that guy that the Lions once had. I ain't putting too much stock into that. You got Marcus Johnson, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, David Sills, and Richie James. Maybe in a couple of weeks, though, you could see that one guy with the blonde mohawk that used to wear number 13 for this football team. So that is the Giants wide receiver depth chart that they're going to be rolling with for the rest of the season. So I want you to get out your red pens. We're going back to school. Scale your confidence level in this Giants wide receiver core. 1 to 10. 1 being you're not confident at all. They're the worst wide receiver core to ever play for an NFL team. 10 being they're the best. I trust them with my life. I want to hear from you. Scale your confidence level in the Giants wide receivers 1 to 10 right now. And make sure you're subscribed to New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. Whether there's news, rumors, game recaps, game previews, live shows for every single game on Sunday. We also go live every single Wednesday. We will be live on the channel doing our weekly live shows. We put out Giants videos every single day on the latest Giants news and rumors, and we are less than 300 subscribers away from 18,500 subs on the channel. If you bleed Giants blue and you're looking for a one-stop shop on YouTube that does nothing but cover the G-Men, hit that big red button, lock us in, sub for Giants Dubs. Art Stapleton put this out after Joe Schoen spoke to the media. He talked about why they didn't make trades. We showed you that quote a second ago. He talked about Kenny Golladay. He talked about a whole bunch of things. But this is what everybody's talking about. Joe Schoen on Odell Beckham Jr. being back in the team's facility with Sterling Shepard a few weeks back. Joe Schoen said, I had no idea he was in the building until he wasn't in the building. playing a little coy maybe. I don't see how Odell Beckham was allowed in the building without talking to the head honcho, Joe Schoen. He also says he will always consider good players and does not rule out an Odell Beckham Jr. return. This is exactly what Joe Schoen had to say. He was asked about Odell Beckham Jr. and he said, obviously, he's a guy we would consider and talk to when he's healthy. That's what Joe Schoen had to say about Odell Beckham Jr. when he was asked about him. He said, obviously, he's a guy we would consider and talk to when he's healthy. Sounds to me like the Giants have already been talking to Odell Beckham Jr. a little bit. Bring OBJ home. He wants to be here. Go back to all the flirting on Twitter, the flirting on Instagram, talking to Saquon Barkley, visiting Sterling Shepard, the back and forth with license plate guy. Bring Odell Beckham Jr. back to the New York Giants. Is he going to be tough with the salary cap situation? No doubt about it. But how much money is the guy really going to get when he comes back in late November to play football? He said he wants to play for a contender. Last time I checked, Giants have one of the best records in the National Football League, sitting at 6-2. I mean, what Odell Beckham did with the New York Giants was one of the best 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years runs of all time. 91 grabs as a rookie, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns in 12 games. I mean, the stats that Odell Beckham put up with the New York Giants, in my opinion, he's the most talented player to ever catch passes for the New York Giants. The thing is, injuries is what has slowed him down. If he's 100% healthy, though, we saw what the Rams did with him, and we see what the Rams have done without him. Not saying OBJ is going to be a savior, but if he comes and joins the Giants and signs with them in NFL free agency, this wide receiver core is going to be much, much better than they are right now. I want to ask the real ones, though, right now. Do you want OBJ on the Giants? Should Joe Schoen sign Odell Beckham Jr.? Type OBJ for yes, or you can go down in the comments and type no BJ for no. I do want to give a shout out to a brand new sponsor that we have on the channel and here at Chat Sports. Shout out to Established Titles. They're a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. It is a project based on a historic Scottish customs where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. I got my documentation. They're now calling me Lord Marshy. You can get yours today. Title packs give you at least 1 square feet of dedicated land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest. We plant a tree with every order and work with global charities, 1 tree planted and trees for the future to support global reforestation efforts. You could officially include the title Lord or Lady on your credit card, plane ticket, dating profiles that may help you find your girl or your guy. It makes a great last-minute gift. And the best part is the first 200 people purchasing a title pack with my link of establishedtitles.com/chat, your trees will be planted within a few minutes in walking distance of my trees. Let's start a whole Giants Now Real One community today. Go to establishedtitles.com/chat. We can build our little Giants Now kingdom today. Get started today, establishedtitles.com/chat. Joe Schoen also talked about Kadarius Toney in the trade that he made a couple days prior to the trade deadline. He said this particular move was best for the organization. We don't have to go to that. Keep it up on screen, though, because it is wrong. Jordan Renan did say this, though. Joe Schoen said it's an ongoing evaluation with all the players about committing long-term when it comes to contract extensions. When he was asked specifically about Daniel Jones plus Saquon Barkley being extended during the season, Joe Schoen said he would ideally look to have that combo this week if they are interested. I don't expect Daniel Jones to be extended. I don't expect Saquon Barkley to be extended right now, but Joe Schoen did say the bye week would be the time for the Giants to make any extensions possible. He also said there are still 9 more games to evaluate the New York Giants. So let's go through the rest of the schedule that the Giants have the rest of the way. Excuse me. Week 9. Giants are on a bye. We know that. Coming out, they got the Texans. Then they got the Lions, and they play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. You got to beat the Texans. You got to beat the Lions. Those are 2 games that you have to win because the schedule after week 11 gets tough. You got the Cowboys week 12, then you got another easy game, and it might not even be that easy. You got week 13 versus the Washington Commanders coming up. That's another game that you have to win. You have to beat the Commanders. Then you got the Eagles. That's going to be tough. Then you play at Washington in week 15. You got to win that game as well. Then you got the Vikings, who are going to be a much tougher team after they just picked up TJ Hawkinson. The Colts, that should be a win. Then you got the Eagles. So you still get Washington twice. You got the Lions, and you got the Texans, and you got the Colts. You have to win those 5 games. You have to win those 5 games. The Giants will probably be favored in all of those games. You win those 5 games, you're up to 11 wins. Maybe you can steal one against the Eagles or beat the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, or maybe you could beat the Vikings. I have the Giants finishing the regular season with an 11-6 record, but I want to hear from the real ones right now in the comment section. I want you to predict the Giants' final record once Week 18 is over. I'm saying 11-6, but I want to hear from you down in the comments right now. I appreciate everybody as well for making Giants Now a part of their day. Video number 2 of the day, because we're real ones. We want to keep you up to date on everything that's going around with the New York Football Giants. And you can also do that by giving me a follow over on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. Everybody that follows me from this video, I'll follow you back. Just send me a DM, say OBJ, so I know you came from this video. Give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_, and send me a DM saying OBJ, and I'll make sure to give you a follow back.